The invitation the galaxy had been waiting for this day for almost a century. A grand peace summit and event where the most powerful empires, republics, and federations would meet under one roof was finally happening. The Galactic Council announced it as the end of centuries of war. To most species, it was history. To humanity, it was a test. For weeks, alien news channels repeated the same words. Earth is invited, but will they act civilized? The invitation had arrived in a silver capsule, sealed with the crest of the Council. It was addressed to the United Earth government, requesting a delegation of peaceful representatives to attend the summit on Zorath Prime. The message carried layers of meaning. On the surface, it was polite. Between the lines, it was a warning dot in the high orbit of Mars. The massive hangar of Fleet Command buzzed with activity. Shuttles moved like insects, carrying supplies, fuel, and classified crates into the armored belly of the ECS Leviathan. Captain Darius Rourke stood on the command deck, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the distant red glow of the planet below. His jaw was set, his eyes cold. He had been a soldier for 30 years, a veteran of border wars and deep space sieges. But this mission felt different. The official orders, marked eyes only, lay in a black case beside him. He had read them once. He didn't need to read them again. The galaxy thought humanity would send diplomats, people in neat suits, smiling and shaking hands. They thought Earth would try to prove it was safe and cooperative. But Rourke knew better. Humanity had learned the hard way. Peace meant nothing if the enemy was still breathing. All across alien space, news anchors smiled for the cameras. They spoke in honeyed tones, mocking humans without saying it outright. The human species is young. They are learning the ways of diplomacy. Perhaps they will send scholars, or at least their president. The galaxy expects a gentle handshake. Behind their polished smiles, many alien leaders believed humans were still the same dangerous savages who had fought the siege of Ardent Prime, a battle so brutal. Even warlike species had flinched, but if they expected weakness, they would be disappointed. The Leviathan was no diplomatic vessel. It was the largest warship Earth had ever built, 5 kilometers from bow to stern, armored in layers of tungsten carbide plating. Its main cannon, Oblivion's Eye, could split a moon in half. It carried enough nuclear payloads to glass a planet twice over. Most importantly, it was coming to Zorath Prime. The ship's crew knew this was no ordinary mission. They spoke in low voices, glancing at the sealed orders Rourke carried. Young ensigns polished the consoles until they shone. Veterans checked and rechecked weapon systems. There was tension in the air, tension that smelled of an approaching storm dot in the council chamber on Zorath Prime. Alien leaders sat around a circular table the size of a sports stadium. Representatives from the Core Dominion, the Valen Alliance, the Lithari Hives, and dozens more species were already present. Holoscreens floated above them, displaying the arrival schedules of various fleets. Elegant diplomatic cruisers, painted in gold and silver, drifted into the docking rings in perfect formation. One chair sat empty, the one marked with Earth's flag. The Valen ambassador, a tall bird-like creature with shimmering feathers, let out a soft laugh. "I wonder if the humans even know how to dress for the occasion," she said to the Core representative. The Core, a hulking reptilian with a crown of bone horns, grinned, showing rows of teeth. "It doesn't matter. They will be here too. Listen, not to speak. Their role is to obey the council." Back aboard the Leviathan, Rourke stood before his crew in the main briefing hall. His voice was steady, but it carried weight. The council invited diplomats. They expected a handshake. They will get something else. Murmurs ran through the ranks. The veterans understood. The younger crew members looked confused, even nervous. Rourke continued, pacing slowly. "We are not going there to smile for cameras. We are not there to prove we belong. We are going there to make sure that no one, no species, ever forgets why you never underestimate Earth. The crew stood straighter. Weapons techs checked their sidearms. Pilots tightened their gloves. The ship hummed, alive and eager. Outside, the hangar bay, the last of the shuttles departed. The Leviathan's engines began their deep, bone-rattling growl. The vast hull trembled as the ship turned toward the black void beyond Mars. From this moment on, there would be no more broadcasts from Earth, no more public updates. The mission was now classified, the real orders known only to Rourke and his. Command staff. The Galaxy expected peace talks. What they would get was the shadow of a planet killer stretching across their skies, and in the silence of deep space, as the Leviathan slipped into hyperspace, Captain Rourke allowed himself the smallest of smiles. Let's give them something to remember. Arrival of the wrong ship. The skies above Zorith Prime shimmered with the arrival of fleets from every corner of the galaxy. Diplomatic cruisers glided in like jeweled swans, their silver and gold hulls catching the light of the twin suns. Each ship was a message. We come in peace, but we are proud. One by one, these elegant vessels eased into the Council's orbital docks, greeted by ceremonial escorts. Cameras floated in the void, broadcasting the event to trillions. The Galaxy was watching. And then the stars went dark. A shadow appeared at the edge of the system, so vast it blocked entire constellations. It was no graceful cruiser, no golden envoy. It was the ECS Leviathan. 5 kilometers of armored steel and silent intent slid out of hyperspace. Its black hull drank the light, absorbing it. Lines of crimson lights ran across its surface like the veins of a sleeping beast. The Council's channels erupted instantly, questions, demands, warnings, but the Leviathan remained silent. Alien observers began to panic. That's not a diplomatic vessel, one Council aide whispered. No, another replied. That's a warship, the biggest I've ever seen. The Leviathan's engines pulsed once, and it moved forward with terrifying calm, like a predator that knows there is no escape for its prey. In the Council chamber, the Valen ambassador's feathers puffed in alarm. This is an insult. They bring a planet killer to a peace summit? The core representative bared his teeth in amusement. Perhaps humans do not know the meaning of peace. Others murmured nervously. Bringing weapons to the Council's homeworld was forbidden. But the Leviathan's scanners burned through every ship in the docking ring, cataloging weapons, shield strength, and escape vectors. On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Rourke stood. At the forward viewport, the twin suns reflected faintly in his eyes. Status? He asked. Shields at full. Weapons on standby. Drone bays ready, replied Lieutenant Hawley. Rourke nodded. Maintain course. No communications until we dock. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They could feel it every alien. I in the system was watching them. From orbit, the Council's ceremonial escort ships moved to intercept. Their hulls were painted white, their weapons powered down. But their formation was title warning. Human vessel, you are entering a restricted diplomatic zone, came the Council escort commander's voice over comms. State your purpose, and power down all weapon systems immediately. There was a long silence. Then Rourke spoke. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of steel. Negative. Weapons remain online. We are here under Earth's invitation to the summit. Clear. You as a path. The channel went quiet for a moment. Then, reluctantly, the escorts shifted aside. They knew they couldn't stop a ship like this. Not here. Not without starting a war before the peace talks even began. The docking ring was built for ships a quarter the size of the Leviathan. Instead of slipping neatly into a berth, the warship anchored itself in open orbit, locking its massive claws into a fortified docking frame. The sound, though impossible in space, was felt through the hulls of nearby ships. A deep, mechanical clang that echoed like the tolling of a bell. Inside the council's press chamber, the mood shifted from celebration to suspicion. Journalists whispered, cameras refocused, and holofeeds showed close-up images of the Leviathan's hull gun batteries, missile ports, and the massive, ominous barrel of Oblivion's eye. A question began to spread through the crowd. Why would humanity bring this? Unless they were expecting a fight? Far above, Rourke watched Zorth Prime slowly turn below. A jewel of blue and green, surrounded by orbital towers and station rings. It looked peaceful. Too peaceful. "Sir," Hale said, glancing at her console, "we've picked up faint signal interference on the outer system perimeter. It's not ours." "Not Council." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Keep tracking it. Don't alert anyone yet." Because in his gut, he knew peace summits don't stay peaceful for long. The galaxy thought humanity had come to talk. But the wrong ship had arrived. And the Leviathan was ready for whatever came next. Asterisk. The shadow threat from the moment the Leviathan anchored in orbit. Captain Rourke had been watching the stars beyond Zorth Prime, not the planet itself. On the surface, the council's ceremony was unfolding as planned. Flags of alien nations rippled in the wind. Speeches were given in dozens of languages, and cameras spun to capture smiling diplomats shaking hands. It looked perfect. Too perfect. In the Leviathan's darkened operations room, screens glowed with real-time data. "Lieutenant." Hale sat hunched over her station, eyes scanning streams of sensor feeds. "Sir," she said quietly, "we've confirmed the anomaly. Pattern matches stealth drive emissions." Rourke turned. "Location?" A star map lit up in red just beyond the system's outer gas giant. "Multiple contacts," Hale continued. "Formation spread wide, minimal energy signatures. They're masking behind the planet's magnetic field." The ship fell silent. Every officer on the bridge understood what that meant. Someone was hiding a fleet. ID them. Rourke ordered. Seconds passed before the results came in. The display flashed a single name, Corps Dominion. A low murmur rippled through the bridge. The Corps were infamous for one thing: using peace talks as traps. They would wait for leaders to gather, then strike without warning, crippling entire governments in a single day. Hale's voice was tense. "They've got at least 30 warships. Flagships profile matches the Bloodfang. Heavy guns, boarding craft. They're here for the summit." Rourke's jaw tightened. The council wouldn't believe him, not until it was too late. Some of them might even welcome the core attack if it weakened rivals. He remembered the sealed order in his quarters. Primary mission: safeguard Earth's position. Secondary mission: safeguard the summit if possible. The galaxy had expected Earth to come unarmed. Instead, Earth had sent its most dangerous weapon, because someone in command already suspected this might happen. Down on Zorth Prime, the council's meeting chamber was a swirl of polished words and false smiles. The Valen ambassador was mid-sentence when a whisper reached her ear. Her feathers stiffened. "The human's warship is scanning beyond the system. They're looking for something." She gave a dismissive laugh for the cameras, but her eyes darted toward the live holofeed showing the Leviathan in orbit. Even from here, its black armor looked more like a predator's hide than a ship's hull. Back on the Leviathan, Commander Trent leaned close to Rourke. "Sir, if the Corps move in, the Council escorts will scatter. They're not built for this kind." "A fight." Rourke didn't answer right away. He just stared at the tactical display. 30 Corps warships could burn the summit to the ground in under an hour. Finally, he spoke. "Prep all batteries. Keep the main cannon cold for now. And load the drones." The crew obeyed in silence. The order wasn't for show. Once those drones launched, there would be no going back. Hale's console chimed. Core fleet is shifting. They're moving toward the inner system. Still cloaked. Rourke's voice was steady, but inside, he could feel the seconds slipping away like sand in a broken glass. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to kill. In the council chamber, a sudden murmur broke the speeches. A few aides whispered urgently to their delegates. The whispers spread faster than the official announcements. The alien leaders didn't know the details, but they could sense the tension growing. And above them, unseen by the crowds, a silent war was already forming in the void. The Leviathan was in the perfect position, directly between the core fleet and Zorath Prime. But Rourke knew the moment he made his move, the galaxy would see humanity not as saviors, but as aggressors. He didn't care. If the choice was between reputation and survival, survival would win every time. Rourke's gaze never left the stars beyond the viewport as he gave the quietest order yet. Bring the ship to attack posture, and tell the core nothing. The Peace Summit was still smiling for the cameras. But above, in the cold black of space, the real war was about to begin. The first shot, the Leviathan drifted silently in orbit, a black mountain of steel against the stars. On the surface, the summit continued in its perfect little bubble smiles, applause, cameras flashing. No one down there knew they were standing on the edge of a war, but on the bridge of the Leviathan, every heartbeat was counted. Lieutenant. Hale's voice was tight. Sir, core fleet is within weapons range of the outer colonies, still cloaked. Commander Trent leaned over the tactical table. They'll be in firing range of Zorath Prime in less than 15 minutes. The bridge was silent, the kind of silence before a storm breaks. Rourke didn't look away from the viewport. The stars were steady now, but he could almost feel the core ships moving in the dark, like wolves circling unseen. They think they're invisible, Rourke said softly. Then louder, target the asteroid moon at grid 7. Hale blinked. The asteroid, sir? Not the fleet? Do it. The targeting system's locked. On every nearby ship's sensors, the Leviathan's massive forward cannon, Oblivion's eye began to charge. The glow at its heart spread like molten gold through the barrel's conduits. On the Council's com channels, panic erupted. The humans are powering a super weapon. They're going to fire on the summit. But the Leviathan didn't aim at the planet. When Rourke gave the word, the cannon fired. There was no sound, only light. A spear of energy cut across space, slamming into the asteroid moon. It shattered instantly, breaking into a halo of glowing debris. The fragments spun outward, catching the system's suns and burning like sparks from a forged dot. To the public eye, it looked like madness. Why would the humans destroy an empty rock? The answer came seconds later. From behind the shattered asteroid, cloaking fields flickered and failed. 1, 5, 10 core warships appeared, their hulls scarred by debris from the blast. They had been using the asteroid as a staging ground, hidden from sensors. Now they were exposed and furious. On the surface of Zorath Prime, the summit erupted into chaos. The core delegation stormed out of the chamber, their translator devices spitting out distorted threats. A Valen ambassador froze mid-speech, staring at the live holoscreen, showing the core ships swarming into battle formation. Suddenly, the Leviathan's presence made terrible sense. The core flagship broadcast an open channel to the entire system. Human vessel, you have violated a zone of peace. Prepare to be destroyed. Rourke's reply was calm enough to chill blood. You brought war to a peace summit. We brought the answer. And with that, the Leviathan powered all batteries. The hull lit up like a night city, coming to life. Thousands of cannons, missile tubes, and drone bays opening at once. On the Council's private channels, some leaders pleaded for both sides to stand down. Others shouted for the humans to hold fire until reinforcements could arrive. But Rourke wasn't listening to politicians anymore. He knew the Council's fleets wouldn't stand against the core. If humanity didn't act, the galaxy would watch Zoreth Prime burn. He glanced at Hall. Signal the drone wings. Launch on my mark. The core ships began to accelerate toward the planet. Weapons lit up across their hulls. Rourke gave the order. Mark. From the Leviathan's sides, thousands of drones burst into the void, sleek, black, and fast each, carrying enough firepower to gut a destroyer. They formed swarms like hunting birds, angling straight for the core formation. The first shot had been fired, and the galaxy had just seen who humanity really sent to the Peace Summit. Asterisk. No more peace. The first wave of drones hit like a storm. They moved faster than the core could track black streaks weaving between enemy shields, slipping through gaps, then detonating in white-hot bursts. The void lit up with fire. On the Leviathan's bridge, tactical screens flared red and orange. Hale's hands danced over her console, redirecting drone squadrons to the weakest targets. 3 core frigates down. More pulling back. No, wait. They're regrouping around the flagship, the Bloodfang, the core's pride, their fortress in space. Rourke's eyes locked on it. They'll try to punch through our line and make. For the planet, we can't let them get close to the surface. Down on Zoreth Prime, the summit had collapsed into chaos. Diplomats ran from the chamber, some escorted by guards, others shouting intercoms for evacuation ships. The Valen ambassador clutched her translator. The humans, they came ready for this. The Lithari Hive Queen hissed in reply. Or they planned it. Neither mattered now. Above them, 2 fleets were tearing each other apart. The Leviathan surged forward. It didn't glide like the elegant ships of the Council it charged, its massive thrusters roaring blue fire. Every gun poured along its hull spat destruction. Railguns tearing through armor, plasma bolts carving glowing scars into core ships. The core retaliated, their beams slamming into the Leviathan's shields. The impact rippled across the bridge like distant thunder. Shields holding at 80%, Halle reported. Keep it that way, Rourke replied. Push them back. Commander Trent turned to him. Sir, if we commit to the middle of their formation, we risk being surrounded. Rourke's gaze never wavered from the flagship. Good. Then they'll all be in range. The Leviathan dove straight into the core formation. At this range, the fight was brutal turrets swiveling, missile trails weaving between burning hulks. Drones zipped past the viewport like silver fish in a raging current. The Bloodfang opened fire with its main cannons. The blast slammed into the Leviathan, pushing the shields down to 60%. On most ships, that would have been a death sentence. On the Leviathan, it was an invitation. Lock the secondary batteries on that flagship, Rourke ordered. Full spread. Rows of missile hatches opened along the Leviathan's spine. One by one, they spat death into the void. Hundreds of warheads, each tipped with a yield that could level the city. The core flagship's shields flared bright, then began to flicker. In the Council's secure observation deck, alien leaders watched. The battle through reinforced windows. The black human warship was tearing through the core like a predator in a herd. Silent truth began to settle over the room. Humanity hadn't come to talk. Humanity had come to decide who left this system. A live dot back on the bridge. Alarms screamed as the Bloodfang powered its planet buster cannon. Hale's voice cut through the noise. They're aiming for Zoreth Prime. Rourke's answer was immediate. Not on my watch. Bring the main cannon online. Deep inside the Leviathan, Oblivion's eye began to glow once more, hotter, brighter. Hungrier. The peace summit was gone. Now, only war remained. Asterisk the planet killer's judgment. The bridge of the Leviathan fell silent except for the deep, rising hum of Oblivion's eye charging. The glow from the weapon's core spilled through the ship's interior like sunrise through steel. Outside, the core flagship, the Bloodfang, drifted at the heart of its remaining fleet. Its armor was scorched, shields faltering, but its planet buster. Cannon still aimed at Zorath Prime. On open comms, the core commander's voice snarled across the void. "Human, you won't fire. Not here. Not with the whole galaxy watching." Captain Rourke stood at the viewport, arms behind his back. "You're right," he said. "I won't fire at the planet." He turned to Hawley. "Target the Bloodfang. Overload the shot." The core fleet seemed to pause, hesitation rippling through their formation. No one in recorded history had seen Oblivion's eye fire at full power. Rumors said it could crack continents. Others whispered it could erase an entire moon. Now they would see the truth. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The shot erupted from the Leviathan like a second sun being born. A beam of pure energy, wide as a city street, cut through the void and struck the Bloodfang midsection. Its shields collapsed instantly. The beam kept going, melting armor, vaporizing decks, turning the warship into a white-hot silhouette. Then, in an instant, it was gone, disintegrated into drifting shards. The shockwave rippled outward, hitting the nearest core destroyers and tearing them apart like paper. On Zorath Prime, the light from the blast turned night into day for a full 3 seconds. Crowds froze in the streets, staring upward. In the council chamber, every leader stopped speaking. No one had to guess what weapon it was. And no one would forget who used it. In the quiet after the shot, Rourke's voice carried over open comms to every ship in the system. "Peace is defended by strength. If you threaten that peace, you will face ours." The remaining core ships broke formation and fled. They didn't even try to recover their dead. The Leviathan didn't chase them. It didn't have to. The message was delivered. Inside the Council's private channels, the arguments began immediately, half calling humanity saviors, the other half calling them warmongers. But beneath all the noise was a single, undeniable fact. No one would ever underestimate Earth again. On the Leviathan's bridge, Hawley gave the final status report. Threat eliminated. Planet safe. No civilian casualties. Rourke nodded once. "Good. Set course for home." The Leviathan slowly turned, leaving the smoldering wreckage behind. Its black hull faded into the darkness of space, the image already searing itself into the galaxy's memory. The planet killer had spoken, and the stars would remember. Asterisk, humanity's new reputation. Zorath Prime's skies were calm again. The smoke trails from the destroyed core ships had already faded into the black, but the memory of what happened would never fade. In the streets, people whispered in dozens of languages. They spoke of the human warship, how it had come when no one else was ready to fight, how it had destroyed the core flagship in a single blinding shot. Some called it a rescue. Others called it a warning. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, the atmosphere was nothing like the opening ceremony. Gone were the smiles and speeches. The delegates now spoke in low, urgent voices. The Valen ambassador's feathers lay flat, her usual pride gone. If humanity has weapons like that, and the will to use them, they must be treated carefully. The Lithari Hive Queen hissed. "Carefully? No, we keep our distance." The core delegation seat sat empty. No one expected it to be filled again soon. Far above the planet, the Leviathan prepared to depart. On its bridge, Captain Rourke stood at the center console, watching Zorath Prime shrink in the viewport. His expression was unreadable, neither pride nor regret. Lieutenant Hawley approached. "Council's sending a transmission. They want to thank us." Rourke gave a small, humorless smile. "We didn't come for thanks." He keyed the com and spoke only once, his voice carrying across every open channel in the system. Next time you invite Earth to a peace talk, make sure peace is possible. There was no further message. The Leviathan's engines flared, and the massive warship slipped into hyperspace, vanishing into the starfield as suddenly as it had arrived. In the weeks that followed, the story spread across the galaxy. Every news feed replayed the moment. The Oblivion's eye fired. Every military strategist redrew their maps. Every government began to ask the same question. If Earth can do that to the core, what could they do to us? Humanity's image had changed forever. They were no longer the young, untested species the galaxy once mocked. They were something else now, something older civilizations would fear and respect in equal measure. From that day onward, one phrase echoed in every star system: never invite humans unless you're ready for war. Asterisk.